All right, everybody, how we doing today? It's Sukaba here, coming back at you guys with a draft review for the newest season of the VBL-S. I am so excited for this. The draft was an absolute blast. So for those who don't know, Daddy Plan Part 2 this season in the VBL-S. So last season was regular Series 10 non-Dynamax VGC, no restricteds, yada yada yada. Every mon that was not used last season in at least one game, I think one or two, it might have been the threshold, is now all that's left in the pool. So we had a really unique draft board. We had a really cool task on our hands to assemble a team of mons from a pool of Pokemon that nobody wanted last season. So the board was awesome. Definitely a unique season. It's going to be an absolute blast. I learned a lot once again in my last season. Made a playoff berth, which was really cool. Got smoked in the first round, but that's how you learn, I guess. So hopefully we're coming back this season with a vengeance. I got a new squad, and we're going to talk about it right now, today. So let me pull it up, and we will get started on this. So first off, I had what pick did I have? I had the 9th pick in this draft. I was pretty bummed about it because I had a whole draft plan ready to go, right? So I was like, I had my board ready to go. I had Alolan Ninetales, Duraludon. Like, I had this plan in my mind, and I was like, it's all built around Ninetales Aola. And I don't think anyone's going to take it round 1, so I should be good for my plan. And what do you know? Pick 3 or 4 comes around, Ninetales off the board. Pick right before me, Duraludon off the board. I got absolutely obliterated in this draft on the snipes. So I kind of had to craft my plan for the draft on the fly. So what did I do after the mon I was gunning for wasn't there? I took something that I would be kind of comfortable with. So this is a mon that is so versatile. Meowstic. So there's 13 points on the board. Look at all the options this Pokemon has. It's actually crazy. So first of all, you got 104 speed, which is very good for this format, actually. So power level's a lot lower. Speed tiers are going to be moved down a bit as well because most of the fast mons were used last year. So you get 104 base speed fake out. This thing has prankster screens. So my bread and butter last season was Grimmsnarl, carrying me through all those weeks with his prankster screen sets, Thunder Wave, etc. Meowstic is like your diet Grimmsnarl for that mode, right? So, but this Pokemon can even do more in the support role than Grimmsnarl, honestly, in some ways. Now, obviously, it's not as good as Grimmsnarl, right? It doesn't have the typing to be immune to other pranksters. It doesn't have the bulk that other Grimmsnarl has, the offensive prowess as well. But look what you get. You get Prankster Charm, Prankster Fake Tears, Helping Hand, Safeguard if I'm playing against Foongus or Butterfree or someone annoying, Ally Switch, Priority Yawn. You get Trick. You get Skill Swap, which I thought I might use in this draft. If I get a partner that maybe if I drafted like a Butterfree or a Foongus, right? You get Prankster Spore, something like that. That's an option. Ooh, jumping ahead of myself here. Let's go back. Where do I go? Right here. Present. Yeah, so this thing I'm really excited to use. You get all these options, and it's honestly like it's a pretty good base stat Pokemon. It could do some damage, base 83 special attack. It's not awful bulk. Mid 70s is going to be pretty good in this format because the power level is pretty lower. You get those screens, and you get Trick Room. It's really like I'm going to have a lot of fun crafting up some cool sets with this Pokemon, and I'm excited to see what kind of ways I can use it with the rest of my squad, right? So you get some offensive coverage as well. Psychic obviously would be probably what I'd be clicking most of the time. If I wanted to have a partner with Expanding Force, it gets priority Psychic Terrain, priority Weather if I wanted to go that. This mon just gave me the most options to build on the fly because that's kind of what I had to do when my plan went to shit. Next up, we have Mimikyu. So I wanted Blacephalon? Blacefalon? I don't know how to say it. I wanted that Pokemon with my second pick, but Pop and sniped me once again. So I went with another ghost type that I thought would fit nicely next to Meowstic and Mimikyu. Mimikyu is going to be good in this format, and there's a couple reasons why. First off, fairies are in demand, right? There's like no good fairy types. The only other good fairy type is like Sylveon and maybe There might be some others straggled in there throughout the tiers, like Ribombee was okay. But Mimikyu, I think, was definitely the second strongest fairy, if we're talking about like offensive fairies. And it's interesting because most fairy types are special attackers, right? But Mimikyu has a lot of tools going for it that can enable it to do a lot of damage on the physical side. You know, play rough obviously kind of sucks because it's not 100% accurate, but you take what you can get when it comes to stab fairy moves in this format. So I picked this thing for a couple reasons. One, obviously, like I just said, it's offensive threat. So with Disguise, you can set up a Swords Dance pretty much for free. They have to double the slot in order to really take out this Pokemon. So obviously the defense stats aren't great, but it's honestly not even that bad. But that Disguise is such a valuable tool in this format, and it can also be a really, really potent support threat as well. So this is another Trick Room option. Look at the support moves it gets. You get Will-O-Wisp, Taunt. Taunt's always good. Helping Hand, Safeguard Charm, Light Screen, etc. Right? So you get Fake Out Immunity because you're a Ghost type. You get the ability to dish out some damage with not great offensive coverage, to be honest, but you do get priority Shadow Sneak. You could, bulk up, Swords Dance behind your Disguise, and you're good to go. This mon's going to give me really cool versatility with Meowstic, because you never know who's going to be a support. When you see Meowstic enter the field, depending on how I partner it up, I can play a lot of mind games with my opponent, right? They don't know if I'm going to set up Trick Room. Obviously 96 speed, this mon can operate very well outside of Trick Room, but it can set it for its teammates as well. If you go min speed, it can work under Trick Room also. So this Pokemon is going to give me some really cool options. One of the only other good fairy types left as well. So those are going to be in high demand this format. I think Mimikyu is gonna put in some work for me. So once I had Mimikyu locked in as a pick, there were two more mons that I was gunning for to complete this Fairy Dragon Steel core, because I think that that's a core that is a really good way to get a solid foundation for your team. Last season, obviously, I had the Kartana, I had the Gardevoir, the Grimmsnarl, and what else did I have last season? My Dragon Salamence. I had the Fairy Dragon Steel core really nicely. Right off the bat, it worked out really well for me for defensive switch-ins, all that sort of stuff. I kind of want to replicate that. One mon in particular I had my eye on that I thought would go well and was well valued was Guzzlord. So this Pokemon I've always wanted to use in Draft League, and I actually got it in my other Draft League as well this season. So we're going to be using a lot of Guzzlord this time. And this dude's just so cool looking. Look at this man. He's got these arms going. He's huge. I don't even know what he's supposed to be, honestly. But, is he electric or something? What is this going on inside? Is he power-based? I didn't play Gen 7, so I don't actually know what the deal is with this guy. But he's cool, and check out these base stats. So when you look at the draft board, there's actually not a lot of really slow but good Pokemon in the pool. So when it comes to finding a Trick Room threat for a Trick Room sweeper, I think Guzzlord's one of the best that I could find, and it fit in with my Mimikyu and my Meowstic really well too. So Dragon Dark type, Beast Boost is obviously an amazing ability. 223 base HP. I didn't check before I made this video, but I'm gonna go and say that that's the highest. Maybe Chansey. Doesn't Chansey have a ridiculous HP stat like that as well? I think Chansey's higher actually, 255. But Guzzlord is really, really bulky on the HP side. What is bad about Guzzlord is these defense stats. So it's pretty rough. So you got 50 defense, 50 special defense. I think that Meowstic makes up for this. So I have priority screens yet again. Those screens are going to make those defense stats not look as bad. So kind of like how last season with Kartana, that abysmal special defense was kind of made up for by light screen sometimes. And there were countless times last season where, Kartana ate a special attack that it should not have lived just because I had light screen up. So if I throw an Assault Vest on this thing, set up a light screen, now you have a really, really bulky Pokemon that is going to be dealing a lot of damage. So look at this coverage that it's able to get. So physical or special, obviously the physical stat is slightly higher. It's pretty negligible, but the physical coverage is way better. So you get Knockoff, Dragon Claw for stab moves, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Iron Head, Heat Crash. You get a couple fighting options, Shadow Claw, Poison Jab. I mean, that's ridiculous coverage that this thing gets. If you were able to set up Trick Room with those screens, this thing is an absolute monster, right? You could also get some interesting tech like Wide Guard, Iron Defense. I don't really know why you'd run Iron Defense. I mean, its defense stats pretty bad. So if you were able to get one off with an assault, well, you wouldn't be able to run Assault Vest, but with a screen, a light screen, you know, you'd be eating hits. I think when this thing's on the field, though, you want to be clicking attacks most of the time. So I probably won't use Iron Defense, but if you wanted to, you could run a cheeky body press set with it. If you wanted to, it gets Dragon Tail. If I want to switch, run that to, you know, prevent something from getting set up. Wide Guard is always good in doubles. You know, people are going to be running Fairy coverage if they get it to deal with his 4x Fairy weakness on Guzzlord. So being able to stop those dazzling gleams could be really important while a teammate's able to take him out, and etc. So that tech's always available to me. And I think I learned this past season to never underestimate some of the moves that a Pokemon can get. Like in Draft League, you can make a lot of stuff work. So if I find a situation where I really think Iron Defense Body Press might be the case, I'm going to be open to it. I'm going to try to get a little funky this season with my sets, because I've been inspired by some of the veterans in the league making these crazy sets and showing me that you can really make anything work in Draft League. So I'm going to see if I can push that. This Mon's going to provide a lot of value for me. I wanted to talk about some damage calculations, actually, with this Mon before we move on to my next Pokemon. So if you look, I actually checked. So 2 of the highest attacks in the format. So we got Xurkitree and Haxorus. Highest base attack stats for special and physical, respectively. I wanted to see how bulky I could really get this Guzzlord. So if you take the highest attack stat in the format of Xurkitree, 173 base special attack, give it a Life Orb and Modest, and you have Dazzling Gleam, which is 4 times effective against Guzzlord, I can make that a guaranteed 2-hit KO if I just run an Assault Vest and have Light Screen up. No special defense investment beyond the 4 for EVs, right? And max HP, because it's going to be under Trick Room. That's pretty crazy, right? 173 special attack, 4 times weakness, with a Life Orb and Modest, and it's only doing 50 to 60%. Now, obviously, that's a lot of ifs, right? If I'm able to, first of all, I'd have to run an Assault Vest if I'm able to get Light Screen up. But most people are not going to have a Pokemon like Xurkitree on their team, so their options for taking out Guzzlord are going to be not as powerful. And I wanted to see that on the physical side as well. I'm really just showing this to show me the limit of how bulky I can make this guy and what he could realistically live. So here's a Stab Dragon Claw from the highest attack in the format with a Life Orb, Adamant Nature, against a max HP Guzzlord through Reflect, guaranteed 2-hit KO. So you can really make up for this Pokemon's lack of defenses by, you know, setting up with screens, giving an Assault Vest. This thing is going to be a monster. I'm so excited to use Guzzlord. So to complete my Fairy Dragon Steel core, there was one Pokemon that's a Steel type that I had my eye on. I got him at a really good value, I think, and this is Durant. So the Nets fan in me, I was a little salty that I had to take a Pokemon named Durant, because Durant's making me very sad right now, but you know, you got to do what you got to do to complete the core. This Pokemon's cool, and I think it was underpriced at 7. Given the lack of Steel types in this format, right? So like if you looked at that draft board, you were like, where's the good Steel types at? You know, maybe Registeel, maybe Duraludon. Where else? Kling Klang? Like it was really barren. It was like really bad, actually. I think Durant kind of flew under the radar because people see this Pokemon and they think, okay, yeah, you know, it's really not good without Dynamax. Hustle, you know, you're going to be missing attacks all the time. But look at the stats on this thing. So you've got 109 base attack and 109 base speed in a format that the power level and speed tier level is going to be dipped. This Pokemon has excellent base speed and attack given the format. Look at the typing. Bug Steel is only weak to fire, albeit it's a 4 times weakness to fire. That's pretty good typing, and this thing has high enough defense to where it could be a switch in against physical mons that are doing neutral hits. I could switch it in. Special defense and HP are pretty bad on this Pokemon, but like I said, I've also got the Prankster screen options that I'm going to be running very frequently. That's going to help bulk it up. I think I learned last season with Kartana, I was able to use it very effectively, despite the fact that it had a very exploitable weakness. Glass Cannons are very strong next to supportive screen Pokemon. So I'm kind of trying to go for that same vibe again this season. I got like the diet version of that going on this year. So what else about Durant? I think it's interesting that it has Hustle. So you're able to make all your attacks 1.5 if you want to. Give it a Life Orb, you're doing like you're almost doing double damage on your attacks. So this thing could hit like an absolute truck if I set it up right with an amazing speed tier. Not to mention pretty good offensive coverage. So you get priority first impression if you want it. You get stab, Iron Head, obviously, X Scissor, but you also get Superpower, Stomping Tantrum, Rock Slide, etc. Pretty good coverage options. As far as tech, I mean, I've seen people on ladder and singles do some weird stuff with Entrainment and Truant, which is its hidden ability. You know, I don't see the merit in that at all in doubles, but like I said, I'm leaving no stone unturned. I thought it was interesting, so I put it in here. Skitter Smack's interesting. It's like Spirit Break, but bug type. I didn't even know this was a move until I started looking that it had it. So I could definitely use that against potent special attackers. Helping Hand and Thunder Wave are options as well. And I think what makes this mon worth it for me at 7 points is even if you don't use Hustle, which is often seen as a negative from some people just because of the accuracy, it's still hitting like a truck. You give it a Life Orb and you just use Swarm, this Pokemon's going to provide value for me. So that completes my Steel Dragon Fairy Core, and I think it's a pretty good one, actually. I'm kind of validated with this trio, too, because KC and the other conference was able to pick the same trio. So I feel like that provides validation for me that, like, somebody else thinks that this trio can actually be pretty good. So, you know, we'll see how I can make it work, but I think that's a pretty strong trio to pair with Meowstic to give me a solid baseline for my team. Because, like I said, my plans went in the toilet the second draft started. So we're building on the fly here. So what do we take next? We're building on the fly. We've got Nagonadel. So this is a Pokemon I actually didn't draft myself, but at this point, I had 3 very strong physical attackers in Guzzlord, Durant, Mimikyu. I really needed some special attackers. Now, the board was bone dry at this point. I was really worried because I was like, how am I going to find a potent special attacker? You know, everyone's just going to run Will-O-Wisp against me, Reflect. Like, I'm just going to get destroyed with Intimidate. Like, this is not good. How do I find a special attacker? So I took Kingdra, and luckily I was able to trade it in a win-win trade, I think, for both teams to Dustin. I don't forget what his team name is, the New York City Nido Kings. So we were able to swap Nagonadel and Kingdra. So that was awesome for me, and I think it worked out for him too. You know, we got a little trade action going on. We actually made another trade later on that I'll get to as well. So first of all, we're going to talk about Naga. This Pokemon's very, very fast. 121 base speed is going to be crazy in this format. Like I said, you know, power level's low in this format, or lower. So there's not a lot of fast Pokemon. This has got to be one of the highest speed stats in the format. I didn't check. I think Excelgor's there. There's definitely a few more in between, but this thing does a lot of damage and it does it quickly. Coverage is not great. Draco Meteor and Sludge Bomber stabs. It does get Heat Wave, Thunderbolt, and Air Slash though. So even though it doesn't get a wide option of coverage moves, it gets really good ones. It's good to have fire and electric coverage and flying coverage as well, because there's not a lot of good flying types in this format that can deal a lot of damage. You can also get some setup going on with it. So Nasty Plot, you can use Snarl, Ally Switch it gets, Helping Hand, etc. There's a couple options there. Really, this thing is it's a damage dealer, right? I'm pairing it with my screens. I'm pairing it with my Prankster Mons. You know, I could pair it with my Trick Room mode. I could bring it in late, you know, after Trick Room runs out to sweep up. This thing does a lot of damage. It also has Beast Boost. Amazing ability, really. I think I learned last season about with Kartana. I mean, do not sleep on Beast Boost. You get one of those KOs and you are off to the races. You're going to town, right? It's like Moxie. It's literally the same thing, except it's just your highest stat. So it's Moxie, but special attack version. This thing's gonna hit like a truck, and I'm able to support it. Decent bulk. You know, I'm really just happy I was able to get this. That does bring me up to 2 dragon types, but I think Poppin in his video was talking a lot about this. This format does not have a lot of fairy types, and Naga also is only neutrally hit by fairy thanks to its dragon poison type. So this thing, you know, it's gonna be good for me, I think. I'm not mad about going dual dragon in this format. Dragon, it's the year of the dragons. Let's bring it on. So after Naga, I went for a value pick. I'd use a lot of points at this point. I really wanted Tailwind option, and I think this was the best one on the board. I really think this was mistiered at 4, and I realized that once I started looking and planning my draft after the polling ended, that wow, this thing has so much going for it at 4 points. Check out these base stats for 4 points. 488 total base stats. You get 115 attack, 93 speed. You get Tailwind. Look at all these support options. 93 speed Tailwind for 4 points with Taunt, Feather Dance, which is like Charm, basically. Hypnosis. You get weather. You get swagger. You get decent offensive coverage. You get, well, not really, but you get stab Brave Bird, which is going to do a lot of damage. You get quick attack priority, which is stab. And with super luck, you get Night Slash, which is a plus crit move. If you put a scope lens on this thing, you're getting like really high percentage crits. So this Pokemon, I'm really excited to use. I'm happy I was able to get it in round 6. You know, I wanted to jump the gun a little bit on the value picks. This thing is going to be cool for me. It also gets Steel Wing and U-Turn, which aren't bad. I would have taken this thing at like 6 or 7 points, honestly. Like, this is a really good value for me. It gives me another speed mode too. So I had that really heavy Trick Room option early with Mimikyu and Guzzlord. Now I have some really fast modes as well with Naga on Pheasant, etc. So this was awesome to get, for sure. Next up, got my Fire type. So I made a trade for this as well. I was on the clock, and Dustin mentioned in the chat that he wanted to trade Charizard as well. So I was like, hey, what's up? You know, we started talking. We realized that Marowak Aola would be really good for his team. So he wanted to switch it out. So I picked it for him. We did the swap, and I got my Pokemon. I wanted Charizard. It got sniped for me earlier by him, so I was happy I was able to go back and get it. Fire types are hard to come by in this format, for sure. Charizard is a pretty potent one. So you get base 100 speed, which, like we said, is pretty good. Not bad for this format. Special attack 109, also pretty good. And it's the coveted fire and flying type. Two types that were hard to find good Pokemon for. So I also am a good team to have Charizard because I get Prankster Sunny Day on Meowstic, and Charizard gets solar power. So if I wanted to, I can get a cheeky sun mode going on. You know, give this thing like Specs and then Sunny Day, Heat Wave, turn 1. He's doing a lot of damage. So yeah, I mean, this was really what I wanted. You could also get some decent support. Belly Drum, don't sleep on the physical set. You know, I got fast fake out, Belly Drum, and then you're just gonna get destroyed by the Belly Drum Charizard. I didn't actually put on here what the physical coverage is, but I'm sure it's not great, but it's an option for me. You know, you get Roost, Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, I mean, this is just pairing more powerful attackers with my already decent core. So thought that was pretty good to get. Next up, another Trick Room option with Machamp. Love this Pokemon. He's making a return to my squad. I had him in the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl season. Really good base stats. 505 total, 130 attack, good bulk, 85 special defense, 80 defense, 90 HP. This thing, you throw in a Soul Fest on it, it's very, very bulky. Can run that Guts set. So I like this Pokemon because it gives me another Trick Room mod. I really wanted a really strong Trick Room mode. So you can run the Guts set with Flame Orb and really good coverage with that. You could be a really potent offensive threat. 130 base attack with a Flame Orb Guts. You're doing close combats that are KOing people, knockoffs, priority bullet punch, high horsepower, rock slide, all those punches, right? You got fire, ice, and thunder. This thing has a lot of options. In addition to that, you know, with the Guts set, you can run No Guard with Dynamic Punch. That's why I put it there. And you can run it as kind of a hybrid attacker support Pokemon. Look at these setup and support options. You've got Coaching, which is one of the best support moves in the game. If I can get a Coaching off on Guzzlord, you know, that thing's going to start to snowball really quickly. You get Wide Guard, Bulk Up, Brick Break for opposing screens, Helping Hand, Encore, which is a cheeky move. Tickle, you get lowers the defenses. Sunny Day and Rain Dance. I don't think you're clicking many of those bottom ones, but they're there as an option. So this thing really provided me a mixture of a good fighting type, utility, Trick Room Sweeper, etc. This was the perfect fit for my team, and it was only 7 points. I love this Pokemon, man. This has a special place in my heart. The bulk, Machamp, the muscle. Got to bring the muscle to the squad this season, right? Next up, more speed control. I felt like I had the Tailwind option, the Trick Room option. I wanted to throw in something else into the mix. Icy Wind or Electro Web. This thing surprised me. 105 base speed for 4 points. It's a non-fully evolved, so you could throw an Eviolite on this thing, and it's actually pretty bulky, right? So you have 85 special defense, 65 HP, 57 defense. With an Eviolite, it's actually more bulky than the fully evolved version, and it has higher base stats with the Eviolite as well. And it's faster than the fully evolved version. So this thing was really cool. Static's pretty good. 30% para chance is not bad, you know, on contact. It feels like those 30% moves always seem to proc. You know, Curse Body's like 100%, so maybe I'll get lucky with some static this year. The bad thing about this Pokemon is its coverage. So it wants to be running special moves, but its special coverage is really bad. But, you know, for a fast electric type, you don't really need that much coverage. You're clicking Electro Web, Volt Switch, Thunderbolt most of the time. It does get Focus Blast or Psychic if you wanted to do it. And if you wanted to run a physical set, the option is there. It has a base 83 stat, so it's pretty good for that. I mean, I think this thing provides a lot of options for 4 points. I was very happy to get it. 105 speed, Electro Web is great speed control. You could throw a Scarf on this thing and you're outspeeding most other things in this format that are not Scarfed. So, you know, if you throw a Scarf Electro Web, you could start setting stuff up. You know, it's just another great speed control option. You could also Thunder Wave, Helping Hand, Fast Light Screen if I didn't want to run it on Meowstic that week. And, you know, if you did want to run that physical set, pretty good coverage there too. So, yeah, really good value, solid for 4 points. Gave me an electric type and gave me some more speed control options. So, I had 2 more picks and I had 12 points. So, there were 2 Pokemons I had my eye on. First of all, Reggie Ice, or Reggie Ice. I don't know what it is. But for 6 points, solid. Really solid. Look at these base stats. Incredible. 580 base total. You got 200 base special defense. Got to be one of the highest. 100 base special attack, 80 HP, 100 defense. Good Trick Room Mon, right? I wanted a really strong Trick Room option on this team, and I have that with this Pokemon. So this Pokemon can be enabled in this format because I think a lot of the types that are very strong against it that can obliterate it are rare. So you're not finding a lot of stab, fire that are good in this format. You're not going to have a lot of stab, steel. So this thing has a lot of its weaknesses covered just by the fact that it's in a format that I think can really enable it. Clear Body is pretty good. You know, not the best in non-Dynamax, especially when you're not a physical attacker, but it's a great ability. I mean, I won't be catching any stray special defense drops from Shadow Ball or anything. Coverage is pretty, you know, meh. You get Ice Beam, Flash Cannon, Ancient Power, Thunderbolt, so it's not awful. You could start cursing with this thing. You know, if you wanted to run a physical set, maybe you could do curse under Trick Room, get that defense up as well, just become a wall. And that's what I really liked about this thing is that ice types are going to be good in this format. And also, in the right matchup, this thing can just be a total wall. If they don't have, you know, the proper tools to get through my screens and through that 200 special defense stat, like if they don't have stab coverage that is super effective against this Pokemon, this thing can just set up and just end the game. Right, it does get pretty decent coverage. It also gives me another speed control option with Icy Wind. You could do Safeguard. It could explode too. So I learned that explosion is pretty nice in Draft League. You know, I could lead Reggie Ice with Mimikyu if I wanted to, and ban and just explode and see what happens. You know, that could be fun. Well, I set up a Swords Dance or something. I don't know. You know, the options are cool with the have explosion. So I'm excited. Maybe I'll get to do that at some point this season. But yeah, solid Pokemon for 6 points. You know, you can't beat those stats and the Trick Room utility at that price. Last one, it's a comfort pick for me. Cloister. I love this Pokemon, man. It's got to be one of my all-time favorites. I've always wanted to use it in VGC and in Draft League. This is my opportunity to do so. So I realized at this point I didn't have a water type anymore because I traded away Kingdra. And most of the water types left on the board were meh at best. But I thought Cloister, you know, he could be pretty good. And you know, he's a fan favorite for me. Yes, he dies to a lot of things, but, you know, it's a favorite. Leave me alone, man. I'm going to have fun with Cloister this season. I love the Clam. Ice Water's pretty good typing offensively. Not much is going to resist those two. You got Icicle Spear as an option with Skill Link, and I think Skill Link is just such a cool ability. I love seeing those Rock Blasts and those Icicle Spears hit 5 times guaranteed. 125 power on those when they hit 5 times. It's guaranteed. You could throw, if you wanted to be annoying, you could throw a King's Rock on there. I used to run that set when I was a kid on the ladder. This Pokemon's hard to enable in doubles just because it's frail. It dies to a lot of things. It's 50 HP, 45 special defense, and a monstrous 180 defense stat. But yeah, I mean, it's going to die to a sneeze, a special sneeze. So I'm going to have to be careful to play around it. But it's an interesting speed tier at 70 where I have a really strong Trick Room option and a really strong Tailwind option on my team. So it can kind of play into both depending on the matchup. I could throw a Scarf on it. Scarf Icy Wind against physical attacker leads could be really good. If I can get off a Shell Smash, This thing is just going to take KOs with Skill Link. If you wanted to run it special, you could too. It does get Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Icy Wind, Mud Shot. That's pretty much it, specially. So, you know, but the options there, the stats not bad, 85 special attack. And yeah, I mean, it gave me a water type. This thing's going to be good into certain matchups. It's got Pin Missile, Rock Blast, and Icicle Spear as those Skill Link options. Gets Overcoat as well if I'm playing against Weather or like Fungus, Butterfree. I'm excited to use it. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So let's just like look at an overview of my team now. I tried a different format for this. I had some free time and I was inspired by the Jordan Plays. Love you, man. You make great content. You make awesome PowerPoints too. And I had some free time and I kind of wanted to use that format for my draft review here instead of just doing it on the doc. So thanks for the inspiration for that. Here's my type chart for my team. So now we can look at it all side by side at the end. My team is really only weak to rock, which is nice. I kind of like having the type chart to be unpredictable because the first thing I look at when I prep is I take a look at their type chart and I see if there's any glaring weaknesses in their team. So if I see something like this, I'm like, shit, I gotta like do some more research now, figure out what I could do. So having only what rock as a bad weakness is pretty good for me. I do really well against Fire, Water, Grass, which is a common core that people want to assemble. I've got a lot of speed options. Just take a look at my speed tiers. I have really high highs and really low lows for this, and that's going to be perfect for me. You're never going to know what to expect from my team. You know, am I going to bring Tailwind mode with Durant and Nagonadel and just hyper offense you to death? Am I going to bring Mimikyu and set up Trick Room with Guzzlord and Reggie Ice and Machamp and, you know, have a strong Trick Room option to mess you up? Or maybe I do something in the middle. You know, I bring a hybrid. I got Electabuzz in there with the Scarf and Cloister with the Scarf, Icy Winds, and Electro Webs. And then I can set up Trick Room later, Tailwind, you know, set up stuff. This team's going to be so much fun. You know, I was able to get pretty good Pokemon with good stats, I thought, as well. I mean, summary of my base stats is pretty much similar to what it was last season, despite the power level. And I know base stats don't mean everything, but I'm happy with this team. I'm going to have a ton of fun prepping every week. So, yeah, that's pretty much my closing thoughts. Here's the squad all together in photo form. I'm excited to battle with you all this season for the last format of Gen 8. So, Daddy Plan Part 2. Watch out. You know, the Togekisses are coming for vengeance after that playoff berth. I'm hoping for another one. You know, I want to win it all. Hoping this is the squad to do it. I've got some comfort picks on here, some Pokemon I love, and we're going to have a blast this season. So, that's my draft review, pretty much. I'm happy to do these. I want to make more content now that I'm officially settled in my new place. We'll see how much time I have this upcoming year, but you know, I'm hoping to make some content. Maybe I'll do like a couple games. I'll try, if I make the playoffs, I'll do some matches. I'll try to make some more content for the league because this league's amazing. I mean, you guys are awesome. I love making content, watching content. I wouldn't do this for any other league, so you guys have my heart. Thanks for watching my draft review, and I will see you next time. All right, see ya.